Hello survivors and welcome to another video. In this video we're going to be taking a first look at Joshua, who is the reward for the Walker Hordes stash that is currently live for the next 90 or so days. This is what he looks as a 5-star, and as a 6-star he looks like this. He gets the backpack. He gets the backpack upgrade. We'll look at his stats first. He's got 1,555 attack, 1,796 defense, and 2,011 HP. His trait is tough, and his role is seen as a support character. So far so good in terms of his stats versus his role, but his rush is kind of strange considering his role is support. It's called Demoralizing Shot. It is a 76 AP cost AR, and it deals 550% damage to one enemy. All enemies get minus 60% attack for 3 turns and remove any positive attack statuses from those enemies. All teammates get 40% defense for 3 turns. So I guess the support factor is just all of the things after the 550% damage. It would have been better maybe if he had main damage, just based on the fact that he has very low attack stat, and obviously main seems to be everywhere at the moment. It would have just been keeping with the sort of meta that seems to be trying to be pushed. But all enemies get minus 60% attack is nice. It is a 3-turn debuff. That means basically for the next 3 turns there's not going to be any damage dealt. On paper, that would be nice for a defense toon, because obviously attack characters are going to be the ones that are going to be dealing damage. If you take this guy on attack, you're not really going to be nerfing much, because the majority of defense teams don't really push attack. It's all about defense, revives, that sort of thing. The remove any positive attack statuses, again, is going to be good for attack teams, because most of those will try and run with attacking buffers, you know, plus attack for, let's say, Alice. He would obviously completely counter Alice's buff in terms of the plus attack, which is really, really strong. The downside of this is that all teammates get 40% defense for 3 turns. Pretty much 3 or 4 tough characters that have come out in recent times have had defense buffs, and they do not stack, so it doesn't really mean anything. I guess you could say potentially it means at least one of them is going to be up at all times. You've got Eric, I think, is also 40%. I think you have Douglas, who's 50%. There are so many defense buffs out right now. I think it would have been nice if he actually gave an attack buff in terms of balancing out defense teams. That would have been actually pretty nice. But it's not too bad a rush. He would probably be only viable on a defense team because of this, just because the majority of those, status removals or, attack down would only really be effective against attack teams. We'll look at his active skill, and it's called Recover Both Taunt and Impair. And this can go off either, if one person on your team's impaired, it will go off. So that's the only downside. We'll look at the initial cooldown is 3, and up to 2 teammates recover from Taunt, up to 2 teammates recover from Impair. So potentially that means if you've got 2 characters taunted and 2 characters impaired, it will recover all of them. That's the wording it's giving there. Rather than it up to 2 teammates recover from Taunt and Impair, it's doing it separate. So potentially it can recover 4 people just from 2 different things, if that makes sense. Potentially. I guess there'll have to be some testing on that, but that's the way I'm reading that. Now, I guess that's not too bad. Again, in terms of a defense team, it's pretty nice because Impair seems to be an issue for defense teams, and so does Taunt. Obviously a lot of Taunt characters coming out that can be good for trying to sideline shields, for instance, and obviously this guy would recover it. The specialist skill is Hold the Line. I believe this is the first tough character with Hold the Line within 6 stars. I'm not 100% certain. Hold the Line is pretty nice. It just makes him a lot more tankier and harder to take down. And he has already got good HP and good defensive stats. So that's just going to get boosted. The defense is just going to get boosted and boosted and boosted. If he's got a weapon that has defense percentage on it, if he's got a leader that gives defense percentage, that stacks with this buff. So he's going to have huge amounts of defense. So you want to raise that HP quite a bit, just so that it's not the biggest issue within him being probably the last character left alive. A lot of the Hold the Line characters seem to be just sort of left to last, at least the way they have been in the past. So it could be the same for Joshua. We'll have to wait and see. He has not got an attached weapon, so it's basically as you see him. You see what you get. In terms of him actually being viable right now, I think he's got potential right now. But the thing is, it's mainly how viable he's going to be in 90 days. And we just don't know. In 3 months, a lot can change. It depends on characters that come out that change the meta. Right now, he'd probably sit into a lot of people's Eric defense teams. He could probably slot into a lot of people's Eric defense teams. But I don't know how long those Eric defense teams are going to last now that Michelle's out. People might switch to other defense teams, potentially like Donnie defense teams in terms of free-to-play defense teams. We'll have to wait and see. In terms of how easy it is going to be to get him, you obviously need to do 50 pulls, which is 5,000 tokens in the Walker Horde tournaments. That means you have to come first 5 times and hit all those milestones 5 times to get 50, because that's 11 per tournament. Well, you could I guess do it in 4 and not hit the top spot in the 5th, or you'd have to complete all milestones in 7 to 8 tournaments to be able to guaranteed get all 50 pulls. You can potentially get him on a 1 pull, of course, if we hit the question mark. He has got a 0.5% chance, but it is extremely low. You saw with the Diego stash when it was really low. It basically means he's going to be the last pull majority of the time. So at least we're going to get some gear, I guess. All this gear does go towards him. If you do manage to get him, everything goes towards ascending him, leveling him up, and getting him to a maxed out 6-star. So that's useful. But that's the end of my video. That's the first look at Joshua. Do tell me what you think about this character. Do you think he would slot into your defense teams? Do you like the fact that there's a new character coming to the game in terms of from the comics? But that's the end of my video. Thank you very much for tuning in. And as always, keep on surviving, guys. Keep on surviving.